Oh, well, hello. You might be asking why I'm dressed up like this, but the truth is, I'm just living my movie. I live in my fantasy, and guess what? So can you. So, this is what we talk about in this series. We talk about how to be the leading character of your movie. Last time, we talked about how to put yourself first, and today, we're talking about the supporting roles in your life, the supporting roles of your movie. So, the relationships. And since there's so many aspects to it, we're talking about work relationship, friendships, family, and your intimate relationships. I thought what better way to do this than to give you a best of compilation of all the videos where I narrowed down on these topics. So lean back, get some snacks if you like, and start watching. If you want to skip a video or move forward and start with one that comes later, you find all the timestamps in the description. So check it out, watch them with me, so next time when we get to new videos, you're up to date. Today I want to talk to you about the people you let into your life and how that can be so detrimental in becoming the person you want to be. So the first thing is we have to realize who we want to be. Do we want to be a strong person? Do we want to be somebody who has leadership quality? Do we want to be somebody who actually believes in themselves? And this is very individual. So you might think, oh, doesn't everybody want to be strong? Doesn't everybody want to be a leader, being loved and successful and all of those things? The answer is no. Everybody has a very specific way of how they want to be seen. And that is really, really personal to you. So some people want to be seen as the provider of the family, but not in a way that I bring food to the table, but in a way of I give you advice that helps you to empower you. Another person wants to be the one who actually supports people in a financial way. A third person wants to be the one that everybody can come to because they create such a warm environment. This is so personal, and this is the first step you have to take when it comes to creating your own life. So you really have to have that image. I had a video previously that I talked about archetypes and how you have to have role models that'll help you to kind of determine what you want. Because the people we look up to, they have something that we want. And what you see in that person is also very, very personal. So if you look at a person and you see how strong they are, that's what you're seeing in them. Somebody else might look at them and say they're totally crazy. It does not matter. Every time you see somebody that you say, oh, I wish I had more of them in me, I had more of their life, of their energy, realize what that energy is and define it for yourself. So you start with an image, and of course that image is not going to be complete. We're not going to be able to be put in a box, but there are emotions you attach to the person you are inside or the person you want to be. So I, for example, had always been the martyr. Always. That's the self-image I could identify with. And it had been like this for years. And once I realized, well, I'm not happy being that person because my life actually keeps on showing me signs that I am the martyr. I always get back and back in situations where I really sacrifice myself and try to help others. And in the end, it doesn't even help them because I continuously just draw in people who show me again and again that I have to sacrifice myself in order to make them feel better. And if that helped them, then that would make me feel better. And since I wanted to stay a martyr, I never chose those people in my life. I chose those people who didn't want to accept my help. So I continuously had to push it in them, and of course, it never worked. So then I had to decide, I want to be a person who is not a martyr anymore. I actually want to use all that strength that I have, which I used to endure so much, to help me keep pushing forward. That is a decision I made. And that is the kind of life I decided at that moment I want to live. So from that moment on, I had to decide what kind of people do I allow in my life. And that means that you do not allow people in your life who do not support you in that vision. Let me make that really clear because I think a lot of people misunderstand this concept. So let's say you decide, I want to be a strong person and I want to be a leader and I want to be respected as a leader and I want my words to mean something. And you start from day one, right? At that moment, until that point, you've never really been that person. You had a different self-image of you and you decide you're going to do that. You go in the same restaurants, you go to the same workplace, you have the same friends. How is that going to change? So if you decide you want to be a self-confident person who is a leader in your group and you get in a situation and people don't respect you in that way, then it's for you to decide how long am I going to stay in that situation. So let's say you're at a job and of course you're not going to be a leader in every aspect of it. And if you want to be a leader, there are two options for you. Either you really say, I want to be that person, I want to be respected like this, and even the people above me, I want them to see me as a leader, and I want them to push me in that direction. I want them to see my potential. And if they don't, then this is not the place for you. You need people who want to see you succeed, and they want to see you succeed not in a way that they want to succeed, but in a way you want to succeed. So you have to make it known who you are, what you stand for, and most importantly, who you want to be. I want to be a person who has a social circle. So I'm not going to have people around me who mirror back to me that, yeah, we're so misunderstood and we have no friends and nobody likes us because we're so different. I respect everybody and all their decisions, but I have the decision to make for my life. And I need people who support who I want to be. You know, we've heard of those people who have only people around them who just say, yes, you're doing everything great, you're doing everything right. This is not what I'm talking about. Real friends, real mentors, real colleagues who really, really appreciate you, they will give you constructive criticism, but in a way that's still respectful, that will help you become more of the leader you want to be. So for example, let's say you're this person who wants to be a leader and wants to do great for everybody, and you have people around you who see that you're not doing everything that is well for others. Then it's on them to tell you, listen, you could change this, and this would actually not only help you, but help us. See, those kind of people belong in your life because they help you to become the person you want to be. But if you meet somebody, for example, in a romantic way, and that person treats you like you're nothing special, why in the world would you stay with that person? You want to be a person who believes that they're special. So the only people who belong in your life are the people who do feel you're special, who do feel that you have something to offer and that you're great. Why would you be with somebody who contradicts the vision you have of yourself? So that's why it's so important to choose the people we have in our life. See, I changed my job. I was in this corporate job, I was making 6 figures, everything was great. But the people in there, they didn't see me for who I wanted to be. They just weren't able to because my expertise, my knowledge, the things I believe in, that's not the same thing they believed in. So at some point, I made that decision to become my own boss and to create a flourishing business that represents who I want to be, what I stand for, and what I want to create in this world. See, these things are true for the friends you choose. These things are true for the environments you choose to live in. These things are true for the hobbies you take on and for the self-discipline that you expect of yourself. You have to decide who you want to be, and then you have to add circumstances, people, vocations, situations into your life who help you become more of that version. Everybody who thinks of you in a way that isn't beneficial to where you want to be doesn't belong there. You know how many people actually have told me at my last job that I just wasn't smart enough, that I wasn't able to do it? Of course I made it happen in my last job. I was, on the fast track to become manager last summer. But I did that because I stayed with the partners who actually believed in me. I didn't stay with the people who saw no potential in me and thought I had to convince them of how great I was. What for? If you know who you want to be, surround yourself with people who encourage this kind of understanding of yourself. Otherwise, this whole thing doesn't make sense. Today we are talking about social anxiety, how to overcome it, especially in the workplace. And I'm going to tell you the 5 counterintuitive hacks or tips, or however you want to call them, that I have used. Because the main reason why I was so successful in the consulting industry and banking, despite the fact that I probably got to a point where the people were much more skilled in, let's say, the technicalities and the details, in the math of it all, I made a career due to my social skills and to using that to my advantage in a positive way that was beneficial for everybody. And when I say my social skills, I'm not saying that I was cool with everybody, that I was working with everybody, that there was peace and harmony. I have had confrontations with partners, directors, and we've had situations where afterwards they just found a new level of respect for me, and others have just said they are never going to work with me again. They didn't say it to my face, but they just left my space, and that was actually the best thing that could have happened to me. So those things are just a consequence of everything that happened, and while I was able to apply myself, and I see more and more with so many of you that I'm talking to, that this is actually one of the biggest hurdles, that you don't know exactly how to approach the situation to keep your boundaries intact, because most of you do have this sense of, oh, I understand people, so how can we use this to our advantage that is not just beneficial for us but for everybody? Before we start, I want to remind you, if you want to dig deeper into your personal development, if you're ready to take on the next step in creating your life and taking responsibility for all the fulfillment you want to have, check out the EPIC Life Masterclass, where this is just like a little part of it. If you're interested in coaching, check that out. I also offer single sessions now. And if you want to stay updated with future retreats, boot camps, group coachings, whatever it may be, sign up to the newsletter. All the links are below the video, and make sure to stay in the end. Then I have like this bonus tip that I've used everywhere in my life that's made a huge difference when it came to social anxiety. I have gotten myself really from somebody who was a total outcast. I was totally the person that everybody picked on in school, and I have learned to use that to my advantage and really make a career out of it in all areas of my life. So the first one is isolation is not your friend. This is so important to understand because so many of us do that. I used to do that. It was more of, I don't want to rock the boat. I don't want to cause any problems. If I really approach it that way, how can that be of any harm to me? That was something I thought, but it's not gonna help at all. Like, that's just, it may keep you over, like, your head over water, but only even that, only for a minute, only for like a particular time, because in the end, people will put their stuff on you if you are not the person who can stand up and say, this is me. And it's not even other people's fault. It's just like a natural thing that everything we don't want in ourselves, we just project on the outside. And if there's somebody who doesn't put up boundaries, as in, this is who I am, and whatever you put on me, as in, this is the image somebody has of you, if you do not, say something or be and feel that you're not that, you're just gonna drown. That's just like facts. That's just how our human psyche works. And as I said, it's not other people's fault. But it's not our fault that we got this way, but we have the responsibility and the chance to change that. Everything that I'm saying, like, remember that this is just, a choice if you want to change something. If you're really happy how everything's going, please keep going, because there is no right or wrong. But if you're at a position where you say, I don't feel good, listen to this. Like, really understand, isolation is not your friend. It's not about not rocking the boat and not causing any problems, because it will not get you anywhere, and it will not be beneficial for others either. Because when you're not rocking the boat, you're not making it known who you are. That makes other people uncomfortable because they cannot trust you, and it will all, spiral down from that. You kind of like become a part of this group where you're not really doing what you want. You're not really putting all that you have to give to the front, because like it's always like a two-sided sword. I don't know how to say it exactly, but in the end, everything that you keep hidden, it hides maybe something that people can judge you for, but you're also hiding everything you have to give. And it's always the same way. The more you can be like your authentic self, the more you can tap into that and be willing for people to judge you, ridicule you, whatever it is, the better. A little side note at this point, like, realize that I know very well that we're the ones who like decide how we're gonna feel about it. Like, in the end, if like there's a person who doesn't like the way you talk and you have a problem with that, you're gonna feel that. You're gonna make that a point of feeling that. But if there's another person who says, well, you don't have nice shoes, you're not gonna care, because you don't care about your shoes. You always care about what other people think of you in an arena that matters to you. So I realize this more and more. Like, be aware. In the end, even if it's subconsciously, we decide what we care about, what matters to us, so on and so forth. So understand, we have to rock the boat. We have to be willing to be judged, like, in a way that, because in the first place we think others judge us, but understand that this has to happen more and more in order for us to feel more at peace, to feel like we're more in control, and we're less and less shakeable, and therefore anxiety really goes out the way. It just doesn't exist anymore, because the social anxiety comes from you hiding a part of you, out of the fear that once you would show it, you would get rejected, you would get judged. And our point is to make that known more and more, because then you everything around you adapts more to you than you adapting to it. Hack number 2, realize your coworkers do not have to be your friends. So that does not mean that you have to be unkind to people, that you can't have friendly conversations or friendly relationships with them. It doesn't mean that, but it doesn't have to be a requirement. So, I talk to a lot of leaders who kind of like make that jump from being either in the middle management and going up, or starting to take responsibility for a team. And then there is this thing of, we've been friends for so long and we had all these friendly, like things, the way we talk to each other. And now I have to be the boss. I have to say, like, I'm responsible for the atmosphere. I'm responsible for, saying how it's going to happen. And people have to kind of play by those rules. They have to let me be the leader. They have to let me be the one who takes charge and who leads everybody in all aspects of it. Because if you have a group dynamic like this, especially at work, this is how the system works. The conformity of it makes it work. And there's no, oh, I can't be an individual or anything like this. Like if I'm talking to my mentors, or if I'm like talking to somebody that I want to learn something from, or if I'm talking to somebody who wants to teach me something, guide me something, whatever it is, I'm getting into position of receiving information and acting accordingly. I can still make my own choices, but I know that this system works because this one person is taking the responsibility. They're taking the responsibility for the mood, for whatever it is, and making that happen. You can also see that if you're, let's say, in a friendship group, and one person is the one who says, oh, we're gonna go to the movies, we're gonna watch that. That person takes the responsibility for the fun, and you'll know this if you have those kind of social anxieties in the situation, to understand that maybe you're just as afraid in your personal life to make decisions like this for a group, because if it didn't work out, if it wasn't fun, then it's your responsibility. And it's also important to understand, well, when I take the responsibility, I might ask people around me, but in the end, I'm the one who says how it's going to be done. And if somebody doesn't want to do the way I want to do it, in the end, my opinion has to matter more. That does not mean that you cannot take information in, learn from your coworkers, take in like whatever they're saying, but in the end, you're the one making the decision, not them. And that's exactly how it's supposed to be. Like even if you're not the boss in like a group setting, you're the boss of your life. You're the center of your life. And we're going to talk about that a little bit in the next point, but this is your life. In the end, you have to love what you want most. And a lot of people are so afraid, oh, if I'm not being kind to others, or I might like become like this, this overbearing and like you have to do everything I want kind of person. Well, if you're coming from the social anxiety spectrum, let's call it this way, and you're kind of like worried about these things, it's very uncommon or rare that you will go into the complete other extreme. And if you do, well, what's going to happen? You're going to realize it, you're going to apologize, and you're going to move on. But your fear of not wanting to be the bad guy, if that's keeping you from actually taking on the responsibility to say, this is how I want to do it, this is who I am, this is how, how I'm going to present myself at work. If you're not willing to take that chance, you're not being authentic, you're not being yourself, and you're actually allowing other people to make decisions for you. And like in 9 out of 10 times, this is not going to be the best decision for you. Not because other people don't want it to be good for you. It's just because they don't know you. I don't know you. Like the only person who really knows you is you. So we have to like practice this. And this is a matter of really practicing. And as I said, it won't make you a bad person if you overstep into the other direction where you're too controlling or too whatever. Like if it happens, you learn from it, you adjust, and that's it. But if you just stay here, it's not going to happen. And another thing that will help us a lot is to understand that we need friends outside of work. If you're spending a lot of time at work and you have your entire social life there, that's a problem. That's a problem, because then the moment you kind of like, let's say you become a leader or you become somebody in charge, what are you going to do? Like how are those dynamics going to affect you? You're too emotionally involved in this. See, I learned this when I used to be somebody like this. I had one friend, that I was putting all my attention towards. I had this one group like of work, and that's it. And if you're really like that narrow and you don't have any kind of like laid out world, so to say, you're too emotionally involved. I was too emotionally involved with a person that I wanted to help. And because I was feeling that so much, I was so attached to that, I couldn't really be objective. And even though I wanted to help somebody, it just went at my cost. So, what I'm saying here is find friends outside your work that are on your level mentally. So, my friends, they don't care about my job. My friends, they are not aware of what I'm really doing. I mean, they know somehow, but for them, we're all the same. For them, we're like, there is not my opinion matters more than yours or whatever it is, because everybody of us needs people that we can be, peers, that we can be at a level with, that we can trust. And if those people, your closest people, are all at work, there's just like, you can't make those transitions. You can't become the person who will take charge or who will stand up for whatever he or she believes in, because it will affect your friendships too much. So that's what I'm saying. Try to build a life that is outside of, everywhere where you want to go, and they're just like your base, the people who have your back, who are there and support you, who encourage you, and you do the same for them, and know that everybody is on their own journey. Counterintuitive hack number 3, you are the center of attention. Like, listen to this very carefully. When I say you're the center of your attention, it means that you have to be the leading role of your life. That does not mean that you have to be the center of attention of everybody's life, because mainly that's the main reason why we don't stand up for ourselves. It's like, I don't want to be the person who kind of like puts themselves in the spotlight, and then I'm forcing other people to see me as their leader or see me as somebody who says what's going to be done. We're not taking away anything from other people, because the misconception here is that we have the power to do that. Most of the time, people who have social anxiety, and I was the same way, when we're in social situations, we let other people take the leading role in our life. Maybe your best friend is more important, like their happiness than your own happiness, their success than your success. Maybe when you're at work, you see like, oh, they have an idea, so their idea will matter more to me than my own idea will. See, the problem with this whole thing is that we, as we said, that we kind of feel like they're doing this. They're taking the attention, and we're just playing by the book, or we're playing by the rules. That's not happening. You actively decide to put that other person in charge of, or the center of your life. You make that decision. And the same way applies to work. When I was at work, I was the center of attention for me. That means I'm doing my thing. I'm doing my thing, and of course, I'm adapting to a conformity, as in I want to play by the rules, I want to make it comfortable and stuff like that. But I know where I'm going, and where I'm going might not be 100% in tune with what everybody else wants to do. That's the most normal thing. That's how actually companies, whatever it is, they evolve, because you stay true to where you want to go and who you want to be. So when I was at my last job, where I was at this top tier consultant agency in banking, and I knew what I was good at. I was good at building IT systems. I was in banks. I was good at making clients feel welcome, understanding their needs. What I was not good at was Excel tables and spreadsheets and all of that. And I had really bosses, superiors to me, who told me straight to my face, what are you doing here? You do not belong here. This is if you can't even do that. And I, on top of them, told them I don't like writing documents. I knew this is not what I'm best at. This is not what I want to do. And there were so many people doing that. And he told me straight to my face, I would be really careful mentioning that, because this is what it's all about. And I knew, well, that's not what I do. This is what I do. I build IT systems. I help understanding that. And this is what I'm going to make happen here. And the more I made that the center of attention of my life, I'm not forcing anybody to believe that. I'm not forcing anybody to accept that and to say, yes, Wenzes, you're great. I want you to be exactly how you are. But what happens is that when I stay like this, the people who told me this, for example, this superior or the supervisor, he just doesn't want to work with me anymore. And that's a good thing, because there are enough other people who will be attracted to the way you think. And if there's nobody there, then this place is not for you. I'm talking in extremes here. Of course, I can you have to deal with inner fears and security and so on. But in the end, making it known what you're best at is not a bad thing, because what happened then, once I started like really saying, well, this is what I do, I found out that there are actually projects within the company that were looking for people exactly like me. And that was the way how I was, how I was put on the fast track to manager. This is how I made it happen. Then I was earning more than, I don't know, I think like more than most people in my position. And definitely when it came to like those skills levels that everybody thought you had to have, like they didn't, like those rules didn't apply to me, because my rules were this is what I'm good at, this is what I can do, how can I apply myself with this here. Maybe you're saying, well, I love to do this part of the job, but I don't like doing this part, and that's why you kind of get stuck. And you, instead of like trying to say, oh, how can I make it happen, you can say, well, I love doing this, I'm not good at this, so who can I give this part to who loves doing this stuff but doesn't like to do this stuff. These are kind of things where we're putting ourselves in the center of attention. You're the center of your attention of your life, you're the CEO of your life, you're the one who makes all of this happen, and then your reality applies to that. I'm not going into a company and I'm saying, well, I'm going to adapt to the current state of what everybody's doing, and then thinking that's going to get me ahead a lot. Like that's of course a strategy. I know people who do that and are very successful at it because they're really good at what they do. They find they're good at conformity, then they're really good at, being like the best at what they do, and they move forward. Great. That's a way to doing that. But those are not the people that have that social anxiety kind of thing going on and that are in similar positions like me. And my skills were always kind of unique. They were not the typical thing that you would, think of. But that didn't make them like that didn't make them less valuable at all. And I found that out. I did that, and I did my thing. And because of that, as I said, I've yeah, people were aware of me. I was more and more being myself. And every time you're doing that, you're aware of, oh, okay, a judgment is coming. You stand within that. You take the pain and this uncomfortableness, and you do not budge. You kind of like just stay there. And once it's gone, you have one more reason and one more position of understanding, this is who I am. This is how I like doing things. And you are not gonna, like, once you realize, oh, I can actually live at this level of being myself, and I don't have to like, pretend I'm something else or something like that, and it still works, because this is what happens. The more you being honest to yourself, there are people who will reject you more, who kind of like thought until that point, oh, you're like me, that makes it happen, it's okay. Once you're being honest, they realize, oh no, that's not a person I want to work with, and they're gone. They're out of your way. They do not bother you anymore. On the other hand, for the first time, somebody can see you. Maybe somebody who can be a future mentor, or people who want to follow you, who see that aspect in you that you've been hiding so long, and they were not able to have a connection with you on that. So the more you do that, the more precisely you become like yourself, the more you're being honest and being your authentic self, and the more you attract the people who want to see you succeed the way you are. This is where we come to step, hack, however you want to call it, number 4, work with people who want to see you succeed. I cannot stress this enough. If you have a supervisor who finds everything wrong about you, that kind of like feels you should be somebody else, that's not the place where you should be. It's not your supervisor's fault. It's not like the system's fault. It's not even like really your fault that you got there. But understand that, we're just too different. You cannot make the best out of like where you're at and move forward in like a way that is stress-free and where you're being appreciated, when the person above you kind of wants to see you as a reflection of who they are and what they want to like see in the world or in the company or whatever it is. Like I'm not saying it doesn't work. I know a lot of people who've, become tax lawyers, doctors. I have a lot of people in my surrounding who are very successful, and they've made it by playing by the rules. They have made it by really pushing through any obstacles in a way of people not wanting to see you succeed in your own lane, as I said, not their fault, they're just different. And you kind of like feeling, I have to be the version they want me to be. And so they keep on grinding and keep on grinding and keep on working on those things that they're not that passionate about or not that good at, instead of saying, well, this is who I am, this is what I'm good at, and I'm willing for you to see that I'm not who you want me to be, even if you're my supervisor, even if you're the person who could make me, successful, because I know if I can't be successful by being myself, why be there? Why be in that position? And especially when you're in a bigger company, you'll see how things will just change. Even people who wanted to see you a certain way, once you show up and you're being yourself, they just change their view about you. And then they want to see you succeed the way you are. I've seen this happen so many times, but it's not going to happen if you hide and you're trying to conform to something somebody else wants you to do, when you know deep down this is not what you're really good at. As I said, it works, but that's going to be the hard way. And it's not going to help you with your social anxiety. Overcoming your social anxiety is not being fearless. It's being courageous when you're in fear and showing up and making it known, this is who I am. This is what I'm good at. And I'm okay if you think I'm too lazy. I'm okay if you think I'm too not strong enough, if I'm not masculine enough, if I'm not feminine enough, if I'm not, what you want me to be. This is who I am. So let's see how it can be of the biggest benefit for me, for the group, for the company, wherever you're at, by me honing in on the things that I'm good at. And as I said, if the people above you, below you in the hierarchy, like around you, do not want to see you succeed, don't go, run. Don't go, run. And even and that's the thing, sometimes you don't even have to run. You just gotta make it known, this is who I am, and people just vanish. They kind of make you know, I don't want to work with you, this is not what I'm about. And that kind of gives you room to see who does actually want to work with you, what ways there are in the company to move forward. See, I got to a point where I was so being myself, and I made that more and more a thing, that I realized I got to a point where I knew the next step for me is to really leave that and do my own thing. That was for me the step, because I knew if I wanted to keep going in that company, there's certain rules that, I just have to really play by, or whatever it is, that are not the easiest way for me. They're not the thing that will make me be more of who I am. I had to learn things and do things that I just didn't want to learn. And so I realized, okay, now is the step, the time to go out. You knew me, I had started this years before, and kind of preparation for that step. But wherever you're at, just be aware you are the center of attention. You need people who want to see you succeed. And with that being said, try to make it as easy on you as possible. For example, if you're really good at soft skills, at methods, but you're not really good at, let's say, hard skills, whatever it is they want. Let's say you're not really good at, writing reports, but you're really good at managing a team, or you're really good at, let's say, bringing people together or finding a conclusion, whatever it is, those are methods. And on the other hand, hard skills are writing documents, doing all kinds of systems of building spreadsheets, whatever it is. Just as an example, if we're really good at the soft skills, for example, and we're not that good at the hard skills, why in the world would you make hard skills more important than soft skills? You're making that decision in your life. We come back to being the center of attention of your life. When you're saying soft skills are the most important, you're not forcing anybody in the world to take on this belief. Everybody else, if they want to, they can believe that, whatever they want. And based on the fact what you're choosing is the most important to you, that's how your environment will adapt. So if I'm really good at soft skills and I'm not that good at hard skills, why would I think hard skills are better than soft skills? You make that decision that the thing that you're best at, the thing that is easiest for you, becomes the most important to you. You have a choice. You always have a choice. And you're actively deciding to prioritize and put on a pedestal things that you're less good at. Because we kind of are domesticating ourselves. We're doing this what society, our parents, our peers used to do when we were little, and we kind of take that on ourselves. You're the master of your life. You're the creator of your life. You're the CEO of your life. Why would you choose to think something is better that you don't like doing or that you're less good at? And we're most of the time not aware of it. The more you hone into this, the more you focus on this, the more you realize, well, this is what I'm good at. So I'm going to make decisions every day, who I'm working with, what kind of roles I take on, so on, that will always put you in situations that are more here than here. Those are little decisions, tiny decisions we make every day. And before you know it, you kind of like find yourself in this position where you're being respected for what you love to do, because there are a lot of people who need exactly this. They don't have this, but you have it, so why hide it? But you have to be willing to make it known that this is not the thing that you're good at, but this, and to stay in that truth. Because as long as you're hiding this, people might like you, but they don't like you for who you are, because this is who you are in this example. Somebody who's good at soft skills and somebody who's not good at hard skills. I'm, taking a black and white approach here just for you to understand it. But you know what I'm saying? Like, why make people believe that you're this person that's so great at this when you're not? It's okay for a minute. It's not like that big of a deal. I've done it too, but this is just like, get over a little hurdle to get myself somewhere across. And in the end, it's always just a matter of in what direction are you working towards, whatever it is. It's about being less and less the version of yourself that is pretending to be somebody else. I'm sure that on some level, I'm still projecting an image that is fear-based, that is hiding something like from myself, and I'm not even aware of it. We always have those layers over layers, and hopefully in a couple of months, I'll look back at today and realize that. But I'm making conscious decisions to work towards being more and more myself, and people seeing that side of myself and making decisions. Like even something where I said I can't do INFJ videos anymore because I've really talked about this topic in all capacity that I could talk about. And that was the more popular choice, but it's not my truth. I've like done all of that for me. Those are the topics I'm interested in now. And losing people who only want to watch a video where it says INFJ in the front, like please then leave, because why have people like you if you're not being yourself? And you just make decisions like this, and every time you might feel like, oh, there's like this valley now of me readjusting, but it gives you an opportunity to reach even newer heights and levels, because the more you're being yourself, the more it's like this intrinsic thing of wanting to grow. The more you're moving limiting beliefs, and the more you're removing things that are keeping you from being the best version of yourself. As I promised, I want to give you like this bonus tip. It's actually so like obvious, but I apply it daily, and I know that this is something that I tell my friends, my parents, my clients, and so on. If you have a situation where you're talking to a person and you don't have a good dynamic, whatever it is, it might be at work, it might be coworkers, it might be your boss, whatever it is. If you at a point where you have some kind of disagreement, tell yourself, I do not need that person to understand me. I don't need to make that person understand the way my mind works. I don't need them to believe I'm a good person. I don't need them to believe I'm valuable. I don't need them to believe that I'm skillful. That's the key. Because the moment you have those things and you say them to yourself, you stay true to what you believe you are, who you are. You're not basing the way you feel about yourself on what that person might say, because guess what? You chose that this person's opinion matters. You chose that this company is for you. You chose whatever it is. So you're making those decisions anyways. So the moment you say, well, I'm going to stay in like conformity with myself, with what I am like wanting to do and who I am, and in alignment, you will see people will always at first kind of take a step back. Always. There's not even like a question about it. Like everybody does this, when you for the first time like show your truth. But then two things happen. People either adapt to like the more version of who you are, they rearrange their mind and they come back because they value you, or they realize, well, that's not a person that makes sense in my life. The way they see the world just doesn't work with the way I see my world, and they just leave your life. It might be a slow process. It might be that they're still in your life, but they're like at a how do you call physically like more distance to you. Like, it's all good. It's all how it's supposed to be. The more you make those decisions, and as I said, it's a matter of leaning into something. You work on those 5 steps, hacks, which is isolation is not your friend. You do not need your coworkers to be your friends. You are the center of attention. You need people who want to see you succeed and make it as easy on you as possible. Prioritize the things you want to do. And keep in mind, you do not need people to understand you. If you stay in your truth, the people who do understand what you're saying will come into your life and the others will vanish. But don't make it a point of trying to convince your people, whoever it is. It can be everybody at work, it can be your family, but now that we're talking at work, you do not need people to understand your reasoning. If you're convinced of what you know is right, like, why need convincing of? Like, why do you need to convince other people? I do not need to convince other people what I feel is like bad behavior. I know that. And I might say it once. I'm not saying like don't explain yourself at all, but you explain it like to somebody once and they do not want to see your vision or the way you see the world. That's okay. That's okay. You stay in your truth. They can do their own truth. Today's topic is what to do when you feel like an outsider and the things nobody tells you. Because if you ask me and I look around, what I always read, it's like, try to make friends or try not to care what the people think of you and so on. But we never really talk about the circle itself, why you've chosen this environment. And this is actually something we carry with us throughout our life until we change that pattern. What I mean by this is that we decide what kind of environment we put ourselves in. And if we put ourselves into an environment and if we stay in an environment where people do not understand us, it's because we have the subconscious limiting belief that we are not understandable, that people can't understand us. I'm not saying that you're not unique. I'm unique. I used to have so much trouble in school and kids picking on me because I was different, because I was doing my own thing. But the truth is this, we're adults now. We can now decide where we want to go. But our mind keeps playing this game that we had back from childhood, back from this environment where it was mirrored back to us that there's something wrong with us. So that's actually the first step I want you to take. It's to realize that if you feel like an outsider, it's not because of something you do within that circle. It's not that you have to convince people that they like you. It's not that you don't have to care what they do and then they're gonna like you. It's that you're in the wrong environment in the first place. Why are you being in an environment where you're not being understood? And you might say, well, but nobody understands me. No matter where I go, I feel misunderstood. That's because this is where your horizon lays. You believe that everywhere people misunderstand you. And I can tell you this from experience. I always used to look for situations or workplaces that mirrored back to me that I should be more specific, more detail oriented, that I should be better at those hard skills I never really liked. Why? Because to be honest, those are things my dad always wanted me to be. But this is just a very unique example. But what I have learned is that I have to decide what kind of circle I want so I can then take the steps to get there. So stop asking yourself why the current circle you're in does not understand you. They just don't. Most people won't. And that has nothing to do with who you are. It's just that you have decided to put yourself in a circle where people do not understand you. The people that get understood, they have the self-confidence and the self-love to put themselves there. No matter who you think of, that is living that life you always wanted, that is always being understood, that are surrounded by people who actually get them, they have the self-confidence and the love to go for that. Even if it's somebody that's completely different than you are, why are they not in the environment where you would thrive? They're not, because they know that this would be an environment where they would not be understood. So really realize this. Do not shy away from this. We are in control here and we have to realize this first step before we can move on. The second step is for you to actually write down exactly what you want. Like, if you would have this dream life, how would it look like? What kind of people would be there? How would they perceive you? How would you show up? What kind of value would you bring? And people have told you this probably millions of times, but have you actually sat down with a piece of paper, written it down, and not shied away because you thought, well, this is not possible. This is not realistic. What would be realistic? No, I'm talking about this dream scenario, because only when you define it, you can actually take the steps to get there. So I, for example, wanted to be understood. And in my environment, I couldn't do that. There were parts of me that were so important to me that I couldn't express in my current environment, for example, before I started this channel. So what did I do? I started the channel. I started talking to you. I started to reach out to people who understand me. Of course, throughout the years, I realized more and more what I actually wanted and how much more I can create, and also the people in my real life adapted. I stopped working in the financial world, which was not the perfect place for me. I used to think I have to do something that is uncomfortable in order for me to be successful. But then I realized, no, let me write down what I actually want. I want to be successful while doing something that I love to do, which I'm great at. And that's what I'm doing today. It was a step-by-step process, but it all started with me writing down exactly what I want. What I wanted in my business, what I wanted from my friends, what I wanted from a partner. I wrote that all down. I defined it, so then I can take the steps to get there. And then we come to step number 3, which is creating the whole thing. So this one is a little tricky, so stick with me. There are 3 aspects to think about. First off, what of the wishes that you want can be created by you? What of those wishes, what of those circumstances can be created by your environment? I'll give you a quick example. So let's say you want to be in a group where you talk about social conditions or political circumstances. You can't just do that by yourself. You have to put yourself in a situation where your environment has to also believe in these things. You don't have to be the leader of this group. You have to find a group that is close to that will get you to the next step that you can join. This is something where you take control by going to those places, by signing up, although you know you don't know anybody in this area, but you're leaning into the life you want by allowing other people to fill up that space around you that you crave so much. In other instances, it's very important that you personally take responsibility for it. Let's say you would love to have great birthday parties, but you never feel you're strong enough to take the responsibility of hosting because then it's on you if it's boring. But that's a responsibility you have to take on. You have to be the one who says, if I want to have this excitement in my life, I have to be the one creating it. There's certain things we cannot give off to the people around us, no matter how well we try to accumulate them. You have to be the one who makes it happen. In this process, I also love to use 5 pillars, and I talk a lot about it with my clients. The 5 pillars of the EPIC Life Masterclass, which is physical energy management, relationship management, wealth management, a vocation, which is pretty much having a meaning in life and doing something that really fills you up, and priority management. It's important that you make progress in all of those 5 areas, and you start by defining what you want in each category. So let me repeat this whole process so you remember how we got from being an outsider to somebody who creates the epic life you always wanted. If you're an outsider, realize that it's because you put yourself in this situation. You might think you don't have a choice, but until you realize that it's your responsibility, that theoretically you could quit your job, you could quit your friends, you could quit your city and just move somewhere else and start completely new. This is an extreme case, of course, but I want you to realize it's all in our head. And you don't have to take those massive shifts from one second to the other. You can do little things. But first realize that you're responsible for feeling like an outsider, not because you're not adapting to the group, but because you've put yourself in a group with people who are not like you, who do not understand you, and who don't value what you get to offer. So realize that you deserve to be valued, deserve to be understood, and take the steps to be surrounded by people who actually do. The second step is to actually define what you want from life. How do you want to be understood? How do you want to be seen? How you want to show up? What kind of excitement level you want in your life? All of those things are important. If you do not define them, nothing is going to happen. It's like saying, well, I want a better life, but how? Like, what does that mean? I know it's difficult sometimes, and that's why I love the 5 pillars so much. That's part of the third step. And if you aren't able to define everything before you start creating, Also use the 5 steps for the definition part. Where do you want to be in your physical energy management? Where do you want to be in your relationships? Work relationship, friendships, intimate partnerships, your family life, and really dare to dream big. What is it you actually want? You have a horrible relationship with your parents? Still, have a goal that there's full harmony, that nobody nags you, and that you all laugh together. Write it down. If you do not even say it, if you do not even say to yourself, this is what I want, how in the world are you supposed to lean towards that? The third one is wealth management. Where are you at? Where do you want to be? How can you improve your money game to a point where you feel content, where you don't have to worry about money? And if you want to step even further, you can take the steps then. But where are you right now and where do you want to go? Vocation, also a very important part that should never be neglected. We all have a special gift. We are all unique. And bringing that gift out and helping people with it is the fastest way to a fulfilled life. So do not neglect vocation. And the last one is priority management, meaning if you look at all of those areas in your life that you spend time on right now, what of those things are important and not urgent? What of those things are urgent but not important? Define them so you can switch them up and just say, I'm only going to focus on things which are urgent and important, and then on things that are important and not urgent before I actually focus on things that are urgent but not important. And today we're taking the conversation further. We're talking about how to gain people's respect with integrity, of course. Because in the end, it's not about people liking you. It's not people following you. It's actually you being okay if people don't like you and they respect you because of that. That's the whole deal. That's the secret behind it all. Because in the end, I'm okay with people not liking me and not wanting to be in my space. That's actually the best thing that could happen from that relationship. If they didn't respect me, those people that don't like me, they would actually make me an easy target. And does not make them bad people. There's subconscious things going on that actually attract this. If you really want to look into that one, watch the last video. But today we're talking about respect and what you can gain from that, what kind of influence you can have on the world, how much you can contribute to a better place. And I really want to talk to you about it because you have every chance in the world to really strengthen that position. Before we get started, I want to remind you, if you want to dive deeper into your personal development, please make sure to sign up to the free online mini course on Epic Life Creation. You have everything to gain and nothing to lose, so please start today. You're in control, so really take it. And if you really want to even accelerate that, also check out everything I have on 101 coaching, and all the links, like always, are in the description. Okay, now let's get back to topic. So, respect. Why do we want to have people respect us? Why is that more important than people liking us? Well, the main thing of respect is that people protect your boundaries. And that's really the main thing that will keep you at peace. You know, I've always said this, one of the main things I want in life, that is my highest goal, is inner peace. Because once I have inner peace, I'm so much more clear of what I can do in order to make my life matter more to me, how to contribute to the world, how to add to the conversation, how to make everything better, not just for me, but for everybody around me. And that's the feeling that makes me feel so alive. I know how it is not to feel alive. I know how it feels to be completely boxed in and in shackles, Aladdin, how you see the genie right now in the movies, because I was actually not allowing myself for other people to respect me. And I didn't allow people to respect me because I didn't respect myself. So respecting oneself and then therefore making other people respect you is for you to make your own life force your priority, your life, road, wherever you're going, and not say, I'm gonna say that person, my best friend, is right now the center of my attention. And when I'm with my parents, it's my brother or or one of my parents, or when I'm at work, it's the person who is the leader in this area. You'll see how that changes. And for me, my biggest goal with my clients is that in the end, I actually become obsolete. I want my clients to get so in this position of autonomy, and this is who I am, that we talk at face value. people who respect themselves, who really respect themselves, they do not do this whole thing of, I'm gonna manipulate you so you stay attached to me and you do everything I want. Those are the bullies. Those are like the mean girls we see in movies. That's not what respect is about. And you'll see that there are people who are so highly respected and people do not mess with them too much. Because of course there are people who still gonna have some kind of opinion about you and are gonna like not like you or even try to, put something on you. But if you respect yourself, with time you see how more and more you just don't care. I always bring like really extreme examples, as if somebody would say, well, you're not an Olympic swimmer, you're not that good at swimming. Like, I wouldn't care. You wouldn't probably care if you're not like into swimming. So why do you care if people think you're a bad person? It's very, very subjective. And same thing if people would give you an impression of they don't think you're smart. I've been there so often, and it won't stop until I believe I'm smart. Because if I believe I'm smart, or even if I didn't believe I'm smart, I'm just like, I know I can take care of myself. I know there are tons of people who are smarter than me, but so what? There are more people who are more attractive, who have more money, who have more influence, who have more luck. It does, like, the list goes on and on. The fact is, I'm okay with who I am. And every day I like work on liking myself more and more by making choices that underline that. So that's when we come back to like, the 5 pillars. That's why I'm such a fan of, do at least the free mini course, because the 5 pillars really help you to see, where you're at in those areas, where you're at in your relationships with coworkers, with your friends, in romance, with your family, where you're at in your wealth creation, where you're at in your vocation. So are you actually stepping into the world and really being the most authentic you that you can be, and being of service and allowing people to see you the way you want to be seen? Because respect comes back to that. It's a chicken and egg thing. If you say, and you sit here and you say, I want people to respect me, but I'm not gonna change my choices, it's not gonna happen. If you're not being respected right now, you cannot fix the problem the way you caused it. You can't fix it with the same mindset that caused that whole thing. Because respecting yourself also means to understand, well, let's say I'm in the finance world, how I was, and I realized, well, over here, I'm not getting the respect that I believe I deserve for what I can offer. It's just not, because this is not my field. And then it was on me to change my peers. Then it was on me to say, I'm going to change the area that I'm looking into. I'm going to change it into an area where people actually see me from a perspective that, where my gifts, the person that I am, is of most benefit while I love what I'm doing. Because, you can be of service in so many ways where you feel like, well, but people still don't see my worth. People still don't see what I'm about. And there are always going to be people like this. So most people do not see my worth, like probably everybody. And you will not find a successful person who will not tell you how many people told them that they can't do anything, that they're not smart enough, that they can do whatever it is. So how are these people being respected now? They're being respected now because they say, I do not care. They say, think what you want to think. It's your prerogative. If you want to think I'm manipulative, if you want to think I'm stupid, if you want to think I'm ugly, if you want to think I'm just boring, that's your right. That's your right. And exactly because of that, so many others do respect me, because I know that whatever you think has nothing to do with me. Whatever people think of you is none of your business. And that's the fastest way to gain respect from your peers. And so once you start this journey, of course, there's a gray area. There's not like this, now it's working or now it's not working. But it's about leaning into it. Make choices which underline the person you want to be. Make it a priority that your life journey, you becoming the best version of yourself from your point of view, not what your current peers think, is the thing that is most important to you. Because guess what? Your current peers, They're gonna change, and you have to be malleable and able and willing to change that, to change the people around you. That does not mean that you cannot have your shared group of friends or, your family, your support system. I've had my friends since school. Like, I love my friends, but our relationship has changed. Our dynamics have changed because I used to depend on what they think of me. And, that's just facts. I can lie to you and say, oh, I've always been like confident and people always respected me. But no, they didn't. And of course, in a way, it has to do with people respecting themselves, but it has to start with you. People are not going to respect you if you don't respect yourself. Because guess what? Yeah, a person who respects themselves is much more likely to respect you. But if you don't respect yourself, you're going to surround yourself with people who do not respect themselves and therefore not you. So please make sure, as I said, make a plan and every single week do something to get better in those areas. You can use the 5 pillars, as I said, relationship management, wealth management, vocation, priority management, physical energy management. You can even go on the side of the real masterclass and see what the videos are all about, and you'll get even a better picture of it. There are other systems you can use, so whatever you feel most comfortable with, but start building your life that is more and more like you want it to be. Because that's the whole thing, that we feel, well, if I do this, I'm not gonna feel like myself. I'm not gonna feel more happy. How is money gonna help me? How is it gonna help me if people come to my birthday party? Yeah, you know what? It's not about that. It's you standing up to be more of who you want to be. For you to stand up and say, I want to be proud of myself because I make myself the person I want to be. And in the beginning, it's going to be just a theory thing. In the beginning, you're not going to feel like you're going to change. You're going to know afterwards. You're going to be able to connect the dots looking back, because that's what happened to me. That's why I stand here and I keep doing this every week for the last 4 years, because I know that it's true. I felt it, but it didn't feel like this. No, not one single thing that I did in that direction felt completely like, oh, that's gonna be my solution. But I knew that's the only choice. And guess what? Once I started doing these things, there's such a respect that comes from it. And, suddenly people start respecting you as well. You know the saying of, first they're gonna ask you why you do it, and then they are gonna ask you how you do it. So imagine me living in Europe, where people, especially over here, they're not that open to entrepreneurship or online coaching or whatever, life coaching, life transformation, everything that I do. And I give up this job that looks so great on paper that most people would do everything for, and I do this. Do you think that most people thought, oh, what an awesome person? No. They looked at me and asked, what is she doing? And and now, what happens now? People are like, yeah, you're an inspiration. I want that too, really. Well done, And of course, there are people who do not want to see this in me. But guess what? Those people are not in my life. They vanish. So it's not about convincing everybody around you to respect you. It's about you respecting yourself so much that you align your life to that, so the people coming into your life respect you as well. That does not mean that you're not open to constructive criticism. It's just that you're not open to people who do not want to see you succeed. See, that's the thing, and Brené Brown put it perfectly. If people are not themselves in the arena, I don't care about your opinion. Why do you care about what you want to do, that you want to be an artist? Why do you listen to somebody who never dared to do that themselves? Listen to somebody who did what you want to do, who is somewhere where you want to go, and listen to their advice. That's a sound advice. You can still say, well, maybe I don't want to be there, but definitely don't listen to people who've not gone the way you've gone, who are not where you want to be. And that's how you gain respect. That's how you gain people really, respecting your boundaries, respecting your time, and respecting your life choices. It all starts with you. So make it a point and start today. Start fighting because it's so worth it. I love my life and I never thought it's possible to feel the way I feel today, and I know you can feel it too. And today we're talking about how not to lose yourself in relationships, how to be your own person, and we're gonna talk about how this happens, what it actually means to lose yourself, how detrimental this can be not only to your relationship, but to your overall life, and then how to be your own person, how to make that switch from the first scenario to somebody who actually has their own path and has a partner at their side, and you both are looking in the same direction instead of looking at each other and hoping that the other person is your solution. I was the master of losing myself in relationships, and I wasn't even aware of it. I thought that that was the great thing to do. I thought that was the generous thing to do. I thought this is what made me a good person and what made me connect with other people. Not knowing that I've been carrying this around with me since I was a child, because back then this was the only way I would get love. So I was in a situation where I felt like I have to pretty much give up who I am in order to be the person that, in that case, my dad wanted me to be, and therefore get the love, appreciation, and respect that I so much craved. And the interesting part about this is I didn't have a bad childhood. It's not like this is something that was so rarely and it's so horrible, but it still had an effect on me. And the more people I talk to, the more we realize how we all have these influences from people in our life, and we carry them with us into adulthood. So without me knowing, I was doing everything I could to not remind myself of who I actually am, because subconsciously I knew that being myself would cause me to get rejected. All of this happens on a subconscious level, but now that we're adults, we can take care of it. This played out, as I said, not only in intimate relationships, but also in friendships. I chose relationships where people needed me, and they needed me to focus on them. It was a perfect combination. I didn't want to look at myself, and they needed all the external validation, all the external attention to feel good about themselves. And all of those relationships were solutions to me. So not only did I neglect who I am and what I want, but the more this was different than the life I was used to, the better. I liked guys who didn't live in my country. I liked friends who were completely different than me. Everything that gave me the opportunity not to think about me. And this is a great indicator you can take if you think about if you're losing yourself in relationships. If your partner, if your friend, or anybody else in the relationship you're thinking about is your solution, then you're losing yourself. If it is that if they weren't there, your life would be boring, it's not a good fit. And you'll see that because you have this dependency, you'll choose people who also have a dependency on you. And once you get together, you're pretty much dragging each other down. I've not once seen a relationship that was really healthy, not only on the outside, but really on the inside from the people in it in the long run who are living out this dynamic. And you'll be surprised how many people actually do this. It's pretty much a mutual contract of unhappiness. And most of the time you become aware of it just after a while, after you see that your life is not moving forward, that you're not getting where you want it to be, because guess what? You can't project everything on your partner. You can't project everything on your friends. Because when you lose yourself, what do you actually do? You're not just neglecting yourself. You still want to get your needs met, but you get them met through being the person the other person wants you to be. So let's say you want to have success in your life, but you've always been taught that if you stick up for yourself, if you're the one who is proactive and fights for what you want, you're not going to be liked. So what happens? You're looking for a partner which you think has the potential to be successful for both of you. But that person, no matter how good of a person they are, their understanding of success will always be different of your understanding of success, because every person is different. And it doesn't even have to be something as specific as success. For me, it was more often than not fun. It was excitement. It was doing something that was not acceptable. I never dared to do those things. So I always looked for friends that broke the rules. And because of that, I became more and more the person I didn't want to be. The naggy friend or the naggy girlfriend who tried to keep the balance between going overboard and having a boring life. Trust me, if you're watching this video, if you're in a situation like this, if you're in a relationship that is going nowhere and where you feel like you have the entire responsibility for this relationship's success, for the success of your unity, then most likely you are losing yourself. You do not put your own needs to the forefront. Losing yourself can be very detrimental, not only for the relationship, but for your entire life. Because as I said, you will never be able to make that other person do all the things you want to do. We're too much of individuals to get all our needs met by projecting them onto our partner. And as long as you think that you only deserve love, appreciation, respect, if you're doing something for that person, if you're saving the other person, if you're focusing on them more than you're focusing on you, as long as you believe that, you'll always get yourself in trouble. And you're not helping the person either, because you're enabling them to stay in their negative pattern as well. This dynamic is actually happening if you have two people who are losing themselves. Two people who do not want to take responsibility for their own happiness, for their own path, because of the fear of abandonment, rejection, or anything similar to that. This is happening on such a subconscious level that you aren't aware of it until you're actually in it. You might have a situation where people with really healthy boundaries gets together with somebody who tends to go that direction, and the healthy one balances the other out, so both of them are balanced. But if you have a person who does not want to take responsibility for themselves, who's willing and waiting to lose themselves in another person, they would never be the kind of person that can give the support to somebody who's completely balanced. Those are like people living in two different rooms. And I can talk about it because I have been that person for so long, and now I'm not. I've been single for the majority of my 20s, and I really needed that time to process so much of things that were going on, friendships, relationships, things that always got me in the same place. And once I realized I cannot keep doing this, I need to change. I need to take responsibility for myself and where I'm at. This is when I took responsibility for my happiness, for my path, and the relationship I am in now has nothing to do with the relationships I used to have. Because now my relationship is not my solution. My life wouldn't be boring if I didn't have that person. I wouldn't feel unloved if I didn't have the person. The first dynamic, when I was just looking to lose myself, I was waiting. I was waiting for that one person that would just see me, that would think I'm their savior, would finally stop pretending to take responsibility for my life and just hand it over to them. Everybody that you know that is in such a situation, or even you will see your relationship is not going anywhere. Your partner is either not pulling their own weight, you are taking way too much responsibility for the relationship, so you think you're responsible for the entire unity to have success. That is a typical symptom for somebody losing themselves. And the whole problem with this is all that energy that you're putting into saving this union, into saving this friendship, or having a positive impact on you too, is keeping you away from actually focusing on who you are, discovering what you want, and fighting for that. And if you don't do that, your life will never be where you want it to be. You will always feel like something is missing. You're asking yourself, what is happening with my life? The time is just running out. I just keep on fighting. You feel like you're in the rat race or in the matrix, and you don't move forward. Because guess what? Your entire energy is focused on keeping this unity together. It's focused on keeping your head above water. So how do we get out of this? How do we change this relationship dynamic to a way that is most beneficial to you? If you're single and you make the switch I'm going to talk about now, you're finally going to be able to look for people that are different than everything you've been looking for so far, that hasn't brought you the happiness and the fulfillment you always dreamed about. And if you're in a relationship and you make those changes, two things are going to happen. Either your partner is gonna see, oh, I love that person so much, I wanna be with them, I wanna make sure that I also show up as the best version of myself. And for the first time, you're actually having requirements for that person, as in, I'm taking responsibility for my half and you have to take responsibility for your part. So that person is finally gonna be at a point where they have to decide, where they're really forced to make a decision. What is more important to me? Is it this relationship, or is it my limiting belief? Most of the time, we're so worried that the other person doesn't have the capacity to overcome their limiting beliefs that we're willing to take more than 50% of the responsibility. Most of the time, we're talking about 70%, if not even more. So as I said, the person is either gonna step up their game, they're gonna know now for sure that they have no other choice. If they wanna do this, they have to face their fears. And you will be surprised, more often than not, people will actually do this. They will stand up, they will make it happen, because most of us do this once we're forced to. Once we're forced to really look at our limiting beliefs and really stand up for ourselves, we do that. You have to be willing to say, if this person doesn't stand up for themselves, doesn't really pull up their own weight, I cannot be in a relationship with that person. That's the kind of decision you have to make in order to make that switch happen. Because if you're not willing to take that risk, of course you're not gonna make the steps to be your own person, to find your own truth, to focus on that and create the epic life on your terms. So what are those steps to become your own person? It comes down to two things. First off, you have to have a life plan. So something you want to create for yourself that is completely independent of the fact if that person is in your life or not. I was not able to do this in my 20s. I was way into this. I had no idea who I was. I had no idea what I wanted to do. And therefore, there was no possibility of me thinking I could have a great life without that person. Now I know better. Now I know that I need to have a basis that is just mine, because that gives you actually the freedom to have a relationship that's based on trust and no dependency. Because in the first case, where you're losing yourself, you're dependent on saving the other person. You're dependent on the other person bringing fun to your life. There's so many things that are going on, and we have to be able to create this outside of our relationship. That gives you the basis of who you are. If you need some inspiration and help with this, sign up for the Epic Life mini course. The link is in the description. It's for free. It gives you an insight into the Epic Life Masterclass and all the aspects that help you to create this life. And the second part, and it has to actually work parallelly, and it's just as important, is for you to make that decision that from now on, you deserve to be loved, appreciated, respected for who you are and not what you're doing for the other person. I know this is scary, but there are great steps you can do this with. You can do daily affirmations, you can do meditation, and you can do a lot of self-love practices. For example, when I started doing this process, I told myself I'm gonna start buying myself flowers because I believe I deserve that. I started listening to my music when I was with my friends and not only thinking about what does the other person want to listen to. I really practiced things that I did on a daily. When we went to the movies, I always used to not care what we watched. I wanted to make sure that my friends or my partner's getting what they want. I wasn't even thinking about what I wanted. And I made sure that every single time I had to make a decision, I would think of what I want. And in the beginning, you're not aware of it. In the beginning, when I started this process and somebody asked me, like, what movie do you want to watch? I really didn't care. I really thought the other person probably wants to choose a movie. Why does it matter? I'm okay with this. Not realizing that I was neglecting who I was. I was not showing up as myself in any relationship, not even in the relationship with myself, and not in the life I was creating for myself. So I actually made it a point, even if it felt unnecessary, that if I didn't know what I wanted, that I told myself, if you would have to make a choice now, if you would have to choose what kind of movie you would watch now, which one would you choose if the decision was on you? And this is something I put into my schedule, and I made decisions like this every single day. And before you know it, you're your own person. You're creating this life that you always dreamed about, and you're looking for people to join you in that journey while you both are looking in the same direction. Everybody has their dream. Everybody has their life they're creating on their terms. You do not need that other person to understand your values to that big of an extent, because you understand that you are taking care of the majority of it. What do you want from a relationship? You want from a relationship to that person to respect you, to encourage you, and to have fun with you. But that person is not supposed to be your solution. If your life doesn't make sense until you find somebody, or if you're in a relationship, it doesn't make sense without that person, then it's time for you to actually become your own person, stop losing yourself in relationships, and create the epic life you always dreamed about. Take it from somebody who's been at both spectrums. Life is so much better here. It's so much more fulfilling. I finally do not feel like something is missing. I enjoy life and can't wait to get up in the morning to create something new. I can't wait for my partner to come home and to have mutual experiences and take on life together. But still, I'm my own person. I have one thing I want. He has something he wants. And then together we have one more additional component where we both work on it, where we both compromise, and we add this to our life. It is not the thing that gives my life meaning. And that gives us the freedom, the appreciation, and the love we always dreamed about, because there is no dependency in it anymore. I really hope that helped you. Let me know in the comments if you want me to go deeper into this topic. If you want to dive a little deeper, watch all of my boundaries videos, sign up to the Epic Life mini course to check out everything on coaching. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Like always, I wish you a wonderful day, a wonderful week, and I talk to you next time. Bye.